Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very exciting video, and yes, another, well, I should say two more eyeshadow palette reviews. It has been the week of eyeshadow, and I feel like it's going to be like that for the next month or two while all the holiday stuff comes out, because this is a time of year when the best palettes come out, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I went into Ulta today and they had so many new eyeshadow palettes out, and I had to pick up the two that were on my list to try for fall. So I got the new Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes and also the new Tarte Maneater Nightfall palette. These just launched today on Ulta, in stores and online, and I've been debating all day which one I wanted to review. I even did a poll on my community tab and it's almost a 50-50, so I was like, you know what, let's do something different and kind of do a battle of the fall palette. So we're gonna battle these two out today and kind of just go over each one, the pros and cons of each, and you guys can kind of decide for yourself if this is something that you want to add to your wish list or something that you're going to pass on. I even did two looks with each palette, so that's why we have two different eyeshadows on today. But I'm excited to go over these. I don't know if these are technically holiday or if we're considering these fall. I'm gonna call them fall palettes just because they seem very fall themed to me. Urban Decay also has a new palette out, the Naked Metal Mania, which I decided not to pick up. So we're just gonna go over these two today. Now let's go ahead and start with the new Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes. Here is the packaging. I honestly think it looks so cute. It's definitely in theme with their usual fall release, which is typically a fun food palette. Last year they did the Pumpkin Spice Second Slice, which was in cardboard packaging. This one also is in cardboard packaging. I honestly miss the tin packaging so much, but I mean, overall this is a very cute design. So this says, get ready to flip for something sweet and sexy. This palette of warm maple syrup pancake scented shadows is stacked with 18 sumptuous shades ranging from buttery mattes to sizzling rich metallics that will leave you looking hot and ready for whatever the day or night serves up. Let me go ahead and show you guys the inside here. This actually is a really fun color scheme, I think, for Too Faced, and also you get a nice little mirror with the pancakes over here. Super cute. So these are the colors, and yeah, it's not, I would say it's not the typical Too Faced warm neutrals that they throw in every fall release. I feel like this is a little different, so I wanted to pick it up and try it out and see what the formula is like. This one does retail for $54, and on the back it says UK bulk made in USA, assembled in Dominican Republic. And with their tin package ones, these say the exact same thing, bulk made in USA, assembled in Dominican Republic. So I know there's always a thing if the cardboard palettes are not as good as the tin ones, which seems to be kind of the trend, you know. So I don't know, they seem to be made the same way in the same place. Now let me go ahead and show you guys the swatches here. I feel like there is definitely some shades that swatched really good. I feel like the mattes all swatched nice, but with the shimmers there was definitely some more foiled ones, and then there were some very kind of lackluster ones and a couple that were very hard pan. So I was curious to see how those would be on the eyes, but that is the color story here with the maple syrup pancakes. Now let's talk about the new Tarte Maneater Nightfall. So this is the kind of second version of their Maneater series. They did the Maneater After Dark last year, which was a very good hit for them. Like, it was a really nice Tarte palette. I don't really review their palettes very much because they can be very hit or miss, but last year's was so impressive, so I definitely wanted to try this year's version. This one is described as the hottest, fiercest Maneater palette of the season with 24 everyday shades with a holiday flair. So I don't know by holiday if they mean the Christmas holiday or the fall holiday. I don't know. I think it's kind of fall related. Now this one you get, I feel like, a lot more shades in, and it's a tiny bit cheaper. They're about the same price point though. So this one is $52, but yeah, you get 24 shades in here. And it's kind of set up the same way as the last one, and you get a gorgeous array of metallics and mattes. I will go ahead and swatch this one for you as well. I will say I was very impressed with the metallic swatches in this palette. I felt like they kind of had more shine than the Too Faced ones right off the bat. and they were very buttery smooth. It seemed very similar to the quality of the last Maneater palette. So that's the first look at each of the palettes. Now let's go ahead and get into the different eyeshadow looks where we test out the formula and see what this looks like on the eyes. Okay, we're gonna start today off with the Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes palette. Let's go in with Flapjack here in the crease. We'll go for more of the pinky purples with this look. So we'll do that over here on this eye, just going all the way throughout the crease. Let's blend a little bit of a short stack here. And we're gonna place that kind of in the outer crease, blending into the center. For the outer corner, we're gonna go in with Hot Cakes. That brush was a little too fluffy, so I'm switching to a smaller one to kind of blend that out. And any excess I'm going to take along my lower lash line. I'm just kind of looking up and blending this along there to smoke it out. I am impressed though with the pigment of the browns. I feel like they're actually better than I thought they would be. So now I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to use a la mode. And I'm placing this kind of in more of the center of the lid. Next I'm going in with Sleepin' In and kind of placing this in the inner section. And let's take Brunch Bubbles to brighten that. So that is our first look. I feel like I was pretty impressed with the matte so far, but the shimmers, I don't know, they just seem a little bit lackluster in the metallicness. They have good pigment though, but I'm just missing the shine, I feel like. Let's try a different look on the other eye. For this one, I'm actually gonna go straight into Morning Matcha. When I swatched this shade, I thought it was such a fun one, and I really wanted to try it out. So we'll place this in the crease, of course. This one I'm having just a little bit of problems with blending, but I think the color looks pretty good. Next, we're going to take Cup of Joe, and I'm just kind of lightly tapping into this one because I do not want to get fallout with this since it is technically a shimmer, but when I swatched it, it looked very black almost, and it comes off a lot more matte than you would think. So just kind of placing this in the outer section. Honestly, not a bad shade. I feel like that one blended out really nice. I'm going to place that on the lower lash line too. Alright, let me do a little bit of Side of Fruit. This one swatched really nice, so I'm excited about this color. Yeah, that's a really beautiful shimmer for sure. I don't really think there's a good inner corner shade for this look in particular. So let me try and use a brush to really get this green into the inner corner. Okay, I did pop on a half lash as well to complete the look, and I do feel like both eyes look very pretty. Kind of going for more fall colorful looks. We got the green side, we got the purple side. I think once completed, it all looks very nice. So that is the two looks with the Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes. Now let's get into the Tarte palette. For this one, I'm going to start with Catnap in the crease. I'm going to do a similar thing to what we did with the Too Faced palette, and I'm going to take a little bit of Smolder, which is this bright orange, here in this outer half. Next, we'll take this dark brown Tease in the outer corner. That one took a couple layers to kind of get where we wanted it to be. But it's a nice kind of neutral dark brown. And again, taking some excess on the lower lash line to smoke that out. We'll clean it up with some concealer too. I really loved this shade when I swatched it. This is Fascinate, so I'm going to take this on the lid. Ooh, that is beautiful. And I'm just lightly pressing this into the eye so we can blend this with the rest of the mattes that we use, since it is kind of a bigger contrast. Let me take a little bit of this Alpha shade. I think it's a shimmer. And I'm going to place this a little in the middle. Kind of going in towards the outer corner here. I don't know if I love that one. It's definitely more of a very light satin. There's not a lot of shimmer to it, but it's not a full matte. I'm gonna clean that eye up just so you don't have to look at that while we do our other one. Since that one got a little bit messy because I used a larger brush, but that's okay. It's an easy fix. Next let's play with these fun kind of blue teal shades here and go a little more cool toned. I'm kind of curious about this 9 Lives color, what this is gonna look like. So let me start with this. I just wanna see what it looks like on the eye. I'm kind of gonna focus that in this inner portion. It is a slight satin, so it has a little shimmer to it. So I don't think it's gonna be the most pigmented, but yeah, it's kind of like a pastel. Pretty light though. Let me blend a little bit of Captivate, and I'm going to place this in that outer half. These were a little bit harder to swatch on these last 2 rows, but it seems like the color is showing up pretty well. With that same brush, I'm going to go into this dark blue. This is After Dark. And I'm placing this in the outer corner here. I'm going to go ahead and bring that along the lower lash line with the excess product. And then I actually kind of wanted to try this color. It's like a smoky color. I don't know if this will look good or not. We're going to try it. It's called Intrigued or Intrigue. It's kind of like a gold and silver mixed together. So here is how the Tarte palette looks came out. We got the more cool blues and the more a little warmer neutral side. Just applied the same lashes again as well. But let's kind of round up my thoughts on these palettes, and I want to go over some of the best things about them, maybe some of the worst things about them, and you guys can kind of decide if these are for you, which one you like the best. So let's get into that. So now that we've got to test the formulas out on the eyes, let's go with Tarte since we just ended with this one. So the Nightfall palette, let's compare it to the original. This is the Maneater After Dark, which was such a good success for them. Now this Maneater After Dark, they're about the same size, the same number of shades. There is definitely within the neutrals, I think, some similarities. So now you guys can kind of see what I mean when I say the neutrals seem very similar to me. Now I think the main differences with these two, with the Maneater After Dark, this leans a lot more warm. It's very fall leaves kind of colors. This one has a lot more golds and reds and just leans all over more warm, and I'm feeling like this is maybe like a little bit more of a cool toned version with this new Nightfall one, because you can see there's quite a bit more differences in here once you get to the bottom 2 rows where it has some blues. This one has no blues in it, so I think that's the main difference, is just adding in those blues and greens. This one just comes off slightly cooler than the Maneater After Dark. So that's kind of what they look like side by side. I went ahead and swatched them, the shades that really matched up with each other. So this is not the full swatches next to each other, but just the ones that looked similar. So you can see with the neutrals, they're almost like identical with some of these. So obviously this seems a little bit repetitive, but if you do prefer more cooler tones and you like to add some more of those blues, turquoises, then you might want to try out this new Maneater Nightfall. These are actually both still available. You can still get this original too if this is more your vibe. But yeah, I didn't think these were going to be as similar as they were, but there's definitely some differences as well. As far as the formula goes, here's the pros and cons. I did think this had a nice formula, but I feel like once you get to the bottom 2 rows, once I start hitting into those darker blues, I feel like those can be a little patchy, a little bit hard to blend. So I wasn't in love with that matte formula. So I feel like with the Tarte mattes, when the shades get a little deeper, they just get a little bit harder pressed and are just harder to blend. But I mean, they still had really great pigmentation. We have a lot of depth here and not a ton of fading with the mattes, so I thought that was great. I think what really is nice about this one is the shimmers. I feel like these give you more of that kind of wet foiled effect, and I feel like the ones that were in the Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes were a little bit more lackluster. So if you're a big shimmer person and you love those foiled metallics, I think you would definitely like the Tarte palette better. What's nice with this one is you can kind of do looks row by row. So it's really easily put together. Like you can go side to side and do different looks with those rows, but there's a lot that you can do with this one, so you really get a pretty good bang for your buck with this. And especially if you're shopping on Ulta using those points, sometimes they do 20% off coupon and different deals and stuff like that. But also if you're shopping Tarte's website, they actually run a lot of sales, so you may be able to get a pretty good discount on this one on the next Tarte sale. I have to see when they have another one, but I know they always have coupon codes, so you may even want to get this one on the Tarte website, but it is available on Ulta right now. So that's kind of my thoughts on this one. It definitely has its pros and it has its cons. I think my main gripe is just we just had some issues blending with those blues in the palette, but otherwise I think it's really beautiful. Okay, let's talk about the Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes. Now, originally when I saw the sneak peeks for this one, it reminded me a lot of the pumpkin spice palette, and this was one of my all-time favorites from them, but I guess it kind of reminded me of it because they both had some greens and purples mixed in, so I really wanted to pick this one up and see what it was like since I love the pumpkin spice so much. It's like one of my all-time favorite Too Faced palettes. I did go ahead and do swatch comparisons, and I actually found them to be quite a bit different than I thought. And when I was comparing the formulas, I will say I do think the better formula was in these older palettes. I don't think this one is as good. The mattes in pumpkin spice just seem to be a lot punchier and smoother. I got so much more pigment from the mattes with this one, and while these applied fine on the eyes, I don't know, I do like a more pigmented shadow straight off the bat. I don't really like to have to keep building, even though this is very like easy, very beginner friendly. If you just kind of want to come up with some looks and don't want to take a ton of time blending, hey, this works great for that. But I did notice some quality differences for sure, and I really hope that Too Faced can go back to this good formula. I mean, they did it with the Italian Spritz palette, so I don't know why the last couple have just been very blah to me, but that's the comparison between these two. If you can still get pumpkin spice, I totally recommend it. It definitely has the same packaging and formula as their last release, which is the Cosmic Crush. And I was just, again, kind of slightly disappointed with this formula. Here's what these two look like side by side. I definitely see some similarities here as well. Obviously, Cosmic Crush doesn't have the greens, but I feel like the purples and the pinks are kind of similar within these two. But yeah, these two have a very similar formula. So if you did try the Cosmic Crush and you really like this one, you'll definitely like this one too. So overall, with the maple syrup pancakes, we did get some really pretty looks that varied in color for sure. There's a lot that you can do with this one too. You can go neutral if you want, you can do greens, you can go with the purples like we did today, but I do think the quality is hit and miss with some of the shadows. It's not like a consistent formula, especially with the shimmers. I think some are definitely more metallic and really shiny, and then you have some that are a little more lackluster. But I will say the mattes seemed pretty consistent within the palette. They're just a little bit on the lighter side that takes some building up for sure. So that's kind of my thoughts here with these two palettes. Am I absolutely blown away by either of them? I would say no, but I think they're both nice palettes, and I think you could get them eventually for a really good price. You know, Too Faced does a lot of sales as well, so you may be able to get this one even cheaper too. But if you guys watched my Nomad Ghost Town palette review that I just put up yesterday, I think it was, this one actually did blow my socks off. Like, this one blew me away. If you want really gorgeous melty metallics and easy to work with colors, very pigmented, smooth mattes, definitely check this one out. This one's launching on Tuesday, I think at midnight, so Monday night at midnight. You can use my code Leah10 for 10% off, but check out my review on this one. I'll link it down below. But again, I don't think these two are bad palettes. I think they're nice. I think they're versatile. You can do a lot with them, and they're very pretty for the fall time. So that's kind of my thoughts on these two palettes. I would love to know your thoughts down below. Are you going to be picking any of these up? Which one do you think was better? Which one is more your style? Definitely vote down below. I thought it would be fun to kind of compare the two palettes, kind of give my overall thoughts and swatch everything since these are very new. I haven't hardly seen any videos swatches on these, and hopefully you guys got some inspo if you were looking for some looks with these as well, because these were just very quick, easy to do looks. But that's gonna be it for my video today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.